What's going on, guys? It's Killer. Welcome back to the channel. Now, it has been a while since I've last uploaded, but in today's video I'm going to be covering what I expect Bitcoin to do over the next 3 to 6 months on the lower time frame as well as the higher time frame, and how I'm going to be navigating the market in between them periods. But before we get started, I just want to quickly cover and recap what I went over in the last video. So in the video I posted about 2 weeks ago, I brought up why I was bearish around the 72k to 74k region, and essentially what I was looking for. I was looking for a sweep above the external range high. In this case, our external range high was 73.9k, and I triggered into shorts around this price region, and I posted when I'd done it as well. And as we can see, since that period was tested and we had the deviation above, we have dropped about 9 to 10% towards the downside. So following my previous update, you would have been able to catch this move towards the downside just by paying attention to the same type of plans which I have been paying attention towards. And of course, the reason why I expected a reaction around here or rejection around here is because 1, the trend is bearish. 2, we are in a bear market. If we are removing emotions aside and just looking at structure from a logical perspective, we are in a bear market. Matter of fact, this is a complicated market maker distribution phase, what we've seen here. As you can see probably from my viral post on X, we would have seen accumulation, expansion, distribution, markdown, reaccumulation, and obviously where I posted my prediction for the next 300 days was around this price region where we have some chop, we have the distribution, a leg down, redistribution, a leg down, and as you can see, we are in a bear market. So what happens after a leg down, after a range? Redistribution above the range high, and obviously that is what we've seen, and now we can see a push downwards. However, we are getting to a critical period where I think the risk reward is going to drastically outweigh shorts. So this specific position where I took a short position here is going to be my last swing short of this bear cycle, and the reason is quite simple. I took swing shorts here, I posted exactly what I was doing. I took swing shorts here, I posted exactly what I was doing, and I took swing shorts here. I have been extremely transparent about that. The reason I do not post much on YouTube is quite simple. I want to publicly document my thought process, my bias, and what I'm expecting around certain pivot points. And a matter of fact, if you go to all of the videos on my channel, apply where I posted them, you'll start to see I posted them at significant swing highs as per the one which was posted 10 days ago. And the reason why I have decided to structure my channel like this is because on X, Twitter, people can post 2 scenarios and then claim to be right. Whereas if I post a video, you can see exactly what I'm expecting transparently. If I'm wrong, I will admit it and I will acknowledge that. If I'm right, you can see for yourself. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, well, Killer, how on earth did you predict 300 days of price action in advance? And the only way you're going to figure that out is by joining KillaLabs, which is going to open April the 6th to the 8th, a 48-hour sign-up period where you can have access to my educational content. I only allow this every 3 months on a quarterly basis for 100 people only. So if you want access to, obviously, the certain strategies, the pivots, and how I managed to predict this movement, and bear in mind, there is a lot more technicals involved than just drawing a couple of lines on the chart. There was reasonings behind my timing of events. So if you want to join KillaLabs, you obviously have my educational content. You'll have a 100-page plus PDF, and you'll have 7 custom coded indicators which help mark the pivots on the chart, so you can basically see and time the same type of movements as me. Again, 100 spots only, and it is limited. However, moving on, what do I expect to happen over the next 3 to 6 months? Well, as I've said, I expect the 60k low to be broken at some point. We might have some ranging before that happens, but I do think eventually we will break towards the downside and have that deviation below the previous wick low at 60k. And if we are trying to compare where I believe we are in the cycle to 2021, 2022, we can see around this area here is where I expect we are. I think that we just had that rejection from the range high, and now we are going to see this chop 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 price action before breaking the low and having deviation below that low. And if we translate exactly what is happening from the past cycle to this cycle, we can see, well, we are in a bear market. We have only been in a bear market for 170 days, and on average bear markets are lasting at around 350 to 400 days. So like I said in my previous video as well, I do not expect us to bottom within 350 days. I in fact expect us to bottom sooner. I just do not expect us to bottom 170 days into the cycle, because then that is essentially basically saying that, okay, we're going to bottom 2 times faster than every other cycle. I do not think that's going to happen. I think we are going to bottom in August, September period, and that leaves little room for Bitcoin to have upside, and in fact we can have more slow bleed price action where this is going to chop people out of positions. This is likely the period where people are going to start to target 40k, 30k and 20k. We see this every single cycle where people keep lowering their targets. So what am I planning? I am planning to be buying anywhere within this price region. I did post an update on my channel around 2 months ago where I basically said when we were around this 90k region that I am looking to bid around the 65k, the 60k, the 55k and the 50k range. And as you can see, 2 of my bids have already been filled. I've been filled on 65k, I've been filled on 60k. Now you're probably wondering, well, Killer, if you know where the price is going, isn't it just better off to wait for these areas to be tested? Yes, it is, but there's always a risk in doing that. If you are waiting for one particular entry point, you might get front run, and this has happened to me multiple times in the past throughout my experience. So I am gradually building spot positions, and my target's going to be around 160 to 180k in the next 3 to 4 years. So although I expect this slow bleed price action into a move down sub 60k, I am still going to be buying in between, because in the grand scheme of things, if we start looking on the higher time frame, even if we bleed all the way back down, I'm still expecting something like this to develop over the next 3 to 4 years, in which it doesn't really matter if I start buying slightly sooner now, even though I expect the wick below 60k. So my plan and preparation for the next 3 to 6 months is we are going to see more chop. We're going to see more range bound movement. And as you can see here, it actually took Bitcoin around 4 months to break that previous wick low. In this case, it's 17k. We ranged for 4 months above that area, in equivalent to where we are now. This is the 60k range. We could literally range for 4 months before breaking that 60k low. So that is something to be aware of. We could still be in this range between 60 to 70k for the next 140 days plus. And as you can see here, if we start measuring, we've only been in this range for 50 days. So we literally might be in this range for another 3 months, which puts us at around June, July, and then we obviously have that capitulation bottom, which is below 60k, before having that reversal towards the upside. So what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be looking for bearish retests to target the swing low, and in the process I am going to be building my long-term spot positions into Bitcoin. And like I said again, my plan and preparation for the next 3 to 4 years is that we are somewhere between 160 to 180k. Bitcoin has been the best performing asset of the decade, and it will still provide a better return than S&P and Nasdaq. As I've stated before, even if you decided to buy right now, you would still achieve a 87% move towards the upside within 3 years, which if you break down on an annual return base, this is about 25-30% gain every year, in which Nasdaq, on the other hand, is offering a 10% annual return over the past 20 years. That is what its average is. So even if you bought Bitcoin directly here spot, you would still significantly outperform legacy assets. So we can see that the risk reward for upside versus downside, the upside risk reward is getting far greater than downside. If I had to predict the absolute peak fear bottom, I would say it would be below 50k, and this would be our next leg down before the chop happens, similar to what we saw here before having that push towards the upside. And this push I expect to happen either towards the end of this year or early next year. Until then, I am going to be building my long-term positions. Like I've said, the maximum capitulation zone which I would predict would be below 50k, meaning that if we measure from where the price is currently to around 50k, are you willing to risk this small movement here for missing out on this potential movement in the next 3 to 4 years because you wanted to time the exact bottom? Me personally, I am not willing to risk this small movement to miss out on this big movement. So, like I've said, I am buying between 65, 60, 55, 50, and 45 just in the event we manage to get down to that area. So, the key takeaway from this video is we are probably going to see a lot more chop before forming that bottom. And we could even range within this area for the next 3 months before breaking that 60k low, which means we are going to see another 60 to 70 days of chop leading into May, June before having that capitulation below 60k. So this is what I'm expecting over the next 3 to 6 months and how I'm going to be positioning. Hopefully the video has helped. Catch you guys later.